Today we're here to talk about the 4070 Ti Strix OC, the most expensive 4070 Ti you can buy. This card comes in at $1,050 before tax. All right, so unless you're in a state that doesn't pay sales tax in the United States, this card will run you on average $1,100 to $1,150 if you're in California, something like that. Okay, so what do you get? You get a standard 4070 Ti. All right. But at that price point, you even at the regular 4070 Ti price point of $800, there are some other considerations you can make, right? And today we're going to compare all of those, right? So if you're talking about base 4080, then you can look at a TUF, right? This is the TUF gaming OC, but I mean this is the TUF OC, but the gaming's the same shit. Okay, that's at $1,200. For those of you that didn't know, Best Buy had a promotion of 10% off all 4080s, so you could get Founders for like $1079 before tax, which makes it $20 more than this. Okay, what else can you get? So if you're looking at a 4070 Ti, if you're looking on the used market or like old new stock, you can get a 3090 Founders Edition. All right, these tend to be about $700. Okay, I personally just dumped like 9 3090s, and the Strixes, I think I sold them easily about 900. The white Strixes, which I had 2 sealed, they were about 1,000. Okay, so you know you can still get these cards, right? There's a lot of them in the market out there, and the direct competitor or direct upgrade is the 3070 Ti OC, which is right here. Okay, so if you're doing a generation to generation bump, you would be going from this card to this card. All right. So for those of you that saw my Instagram, you probably saw I thought I stuffed the 4090 inside of a Cooler Master. I didn't. But those of you that know the cards well will recognize that's not a 4090. This is a 4090. Okay. I'll move it up. Still got the plastic on it because I haven't gotten to this one yet. Because the other one there has been blocked already. So, but yeah. You'll notice it's a much larger cooler in terms of length. It's a lot girthier, right? But surprisingly enough, you'll notice that Asus did not use the same PCB this time, right? On the 30 series, they used the same PCB going from 3060 Ti all the way to 3090, I believe. Not the same PC, but you know, they add and remove componentry, different die, but the PCB size remained the same, okay? So you can see that there's actually a lot of physical empty space in this frame. So this card technically could have been a little bit shorter. Now, talking about length, for those of you guys who have, let's say, a smaller FSF case, and you can just barely fit a 4090 or 4080 Strix, since they have the same cooler, this part, this rear part, you can remove this. You just won't have the RGB, and the card will look like this. You know, if you have a case, most likely nobody will really notice outside of you, right? But let's go back to the 4070 Ti. I don't know if you guys know, but last generation, all the 30 series Strixes, 60 Ti and up, use the same cooler, okay? So if you had a 3060 Ti, you got great temperatures. If you had a 3070, you got great temperatures. If you had a 3090, you got really shitty temperatures, okay? And that was kind of unfair to the high end. Okay, so this time you'll notice that they're not using the same cooler on the high end. They're using a better cooler. Okay, but this is where the problem comes in. At a price point of $1,050, there's no reason to shaft the cooler. This card, 3070 Ti OC, came out during the peak of the GPU price hikes. So when this card came out, it launched at $1,000 or $1,100. And everything was messed up then. So I actually bought this card from B&H for $1,100 2 years ago. I don't remember, something like that. But, you know, but we don't live in that crazy mining GPU tariff, you know, shortage, COVID, all that. We don't have that anymore. So this card shouldn't be $1,050, all right? And I don't want to take away from the performance of a 4070 Ti, all right? We will get into that, by the way. We will get into, I'm going to show some CAN benchmarks with DLSS, because I think if you're buying an NVIDIA card, you really need to appreciate the DLSS features. Otherwise, just buy an AMD card, right? A 6950 XT will pretty much be just as fast as this, if not faster, or 7900 XT will be faster. And, it's cheaper than this. So if you're buying into the NVIDIA cards, then you have to take advantage of DLSS frame generation. Otherwise, you're just wasting your money. Because that's one of the biggest perks of this card, which I will demonstrate. So before we get into the benchmarks, etc., I just want to take the cover off and show you guys something. All right, guys, so we're back. I took the fan cover off. It's just one plug for all three fans. Okay, these fans are replaceable. I'm sure you'll find them on Alibaba, eBay within a very short time, if not already, in case you bust them. But here's the heatsink itself. You can see the design. It's got 6 heat pipes that run through, okay? And you can see the girth of it. But I want to take this time to just, remember I talked about this? Yeah. So, this is the heatsink off of, I think this came from a 3070 Strix, okay? 30 series. Now, if you'll notice, it's actually a larger heatsink. And it's got, what? It's 6 heat pipes design as well, right? So I'm not, don't get me wrong. This thing does its job, okay? But I just find that kind of funny that you got somewhat of a girthier heatsink on the last generation that costs less. You see what I'm saying? So, but it is what it is. Maybe this is designed better, I don't know. But just visually speaking, don't get me wrong, the card stays cool. But like I said, once again, 1,050, okay? 1,050, you should have given us this. If you want to charge someone $250 over the stock, which was already kind of 4070 Ti's are kind of overpriced, right? You need to give us this, okay? But it is what it is. For you guys that don't know, the 4080s and 90s tough Strix, they use the same coolers, okay? Not the same cooler, but tough Strix. So I'm gonna put this back together now, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys benchmarks compared to the 90, 70 Ti, 80 tough. I didn't include the 4090 because it's not even the same bracket. Okay, all right. So we'll cut over to that, and then we'll come back for a summary. So here we have the card pretty much running on combustor for the past 10 minutes. Recording this in post, so I can tell you that after 30 minutes or so that left this running, it never went past the 62, 61 degrees, and the fan was pretty much quiet the entire time. And for those of you that are curious, this is the 3070 Ti running the combustor for a similar amount of time. I'm recording this post, so it's been going for a while, past what I'm showing here, but you can see that with a similar power draw, it is running about 5-6 degrees warmer than the 4070 Ti. So I think that really comes down to the amount of space that's left open. I've previously mentioned on the 30 series that while the heatsink is good, the cooler is too enclosed for air to flow in freely. Well, exit in this case. So I specifically chose benchmarks that would use DLSS and RTX. I feel that as an NVIDIA card buyer, not using these and just relying on raw, pure horsepower, you're kind of missing the point and the big selling point of these cards. If you just want raw horsepower, you can get an AMD card. They're more price competitive for what they offer in that, especially in 1440p. And if you're buying an NVIDIA card, especially moving to the 40th generation, you have to see how big of a difference frame generation can make. And I'm going to demonstrate that in Cyberpunk after this. So what I'm doing here is I'm showing you guys Cyberpunk with full maxed out settings, and also with ray tracing set to psycho. This game is not playable by any card under these settings. And I just want to show you the difference of the stuttering 20 something FPS versus if you had DLSS on quality and with frame generation, which is DLSS 3.0. In some of the benchmarks I showed earlier, you would have seen that for this game with DLSS 3.0, the improvement is a good, I think like 15-20 FPS off the top of my head versus before DLSS 3.0. And while there are folks that aren't a big fan of things like AI generated frames, but while everybody loves raw horsepower, you can't deny that stuff like this makes this game playable with higher settings than you could have if you had set in lower settings. I mean, DLSS has improved so much that it's not like 4K is more blurry than 1440p. Okay, I mean, there are some nitpicks you can take, like edges of certain signs. If you were to stand there and look at a brick wall or look at a fence, but when you're playing these games, you're not standing there looking at a fence. You're not standing there trying to find a crack in the in the ground. So if you look at that 3, for example, at the end, I think that's one of the nitpicks about DLSS. But when I show you the DLSS version, you'll notice that it looks pretty much similar. And mind you, this is an output in 1080p being upscaled to 4K. So when you're looking at it in person with the monitor in front of you, it looks a lot better than what you're seeing right now.
De las apariencias no te engañan. La policía del Night recomienda evitar los peligros que se hacen pasar por veteranos.
New season's coming. Hell yeah! And he's in it. Seriously, they said it on TV.
So performance-wise, the card is good. It's actually very similar to a 3090 if you don't consider DLSS and stuff like that. But it does have its struggles in 4K, even sometimes with DLSS, due to the memory bandwidth. But I would say it's still a great card and good product, just the pricing really needs adjustment. I think at a starting price of maybe $600, it would be a lot more fair. And I think that with time, we will see the cuts because availability is not an issue and neither is competition. So with that said, thanks for watching.